Hello, I'm so happy I got a hold of you. Well, we made it. The top 10, part 5 of my favorite games of all time. Let's get right down to it. Number 10. So, my favorite NES game of all time should come as no surprise. I talk about it a lot. This was a game I enjoyed as a kid. I didn't beat later till I was probably a preteen, maybe not even till I was a teenager. It was one of those games that really struck home with, man, I couldn't play that a few years ago. Maybe I should pop it in again and see how I do now. And no other game I can remember that more vividly with than Zelda 2. Yes, I love Zelda 2. This is my Zelda 1. I still don't care much for Zelda 1. And Zelda 2 is just so fun. It's so engaging. It's such a great game to teach people how to think about games. Everything is placed in there for a reason. You don't need to aimlessly explore. I mean, you do at times, but they do a good job of guiding you. Finding the graveyard thing, it gives you a hint to walk south. You find the hammer, you hit the hammer, you get fairies on the overworld, you have the amazing music. It's such a great game. And yeah, this is fully pumped of nostalgia here, don't get me wrong. But yeah, Zelda 2, still one of my all-time favorite Zeldas of all time. You can already guess which one I like more than it, but if you've been watching my channel or know me, you already know that. But anyways, let's go to number 9, because this is a game that I don't think people are going to see coming. So, when I was doing a lot of my Japanese translated games, I said that Secret of Mana 2 was better than this game. Well, I was a little in the midst, and that's called Trials of Mana. I was a little bit in the midst of the hype, which, that still is a great game. Didn't crack the top 50, but number 9, Terranigma. This is an amazing game. It feels so much like a Zelda-like game almost, but with its own style. It's an action RPG. It's wonderful world building. The music is great. The story is really riveting, which you don't see a lot in Super Nintendo games. It's a great story and just a phenomenal game. I had such a blast playing Terranigma. It was my second video, my first video on my own, so I'm nostalgic for that, but just the game itself, taking the world and turning, the Great Lakes into a dungeon, or this into a dungeon, it was so cool, and just a really, really hidden gem that I think more people need to know about. Europe and Japan got it, we didn't. Another one of those Enix games that unfortunately Enix USA was gone by the time this game came out. So Terranigma, highly recommended, check it out. It is the third game in the Gaia trilogy, so Soul Blazer, Illusion of Gaia, and then Terranigma. They don't have anything really to do with each other, but there is a little bit of connection as well as the overarching themes, and it's kind of a progression. So this is, if you like Soul Blazer, you'll love Terranigma, I think. So yeah, moving on to number 8. So I was a hardcore N64 fanboy. I wasn't going to get a PlayStation. No way, no how. I don't give a damn about Final Fantasy VII. I don't care about this. But there was one game that I saw advertised in Game Informer back in the day, may have been PSN, and it hooked me. It had zombies in it. The graphics looked really realistic. They had cool weapons, and it looked so interesting. And that game was Resident Evil 2. 2, not the first one. I saw a preview for the second one, and I don't know what it was. I saw Leon Kennedy, I saw Claire Redfield, I started reading about the story, and I had to have it. I had to get this. So I got a PlayStation 1 for Resident Evil 2. Now luckily it introduced me to a bunch of other great games, but Resident Evil 2 was the reason why I ended up getting a PlayStation. And I never looked back. Still a Nintendo fanboy, but it opened up so many great games. It was such an interesting story. My first survival horror experience. The game was terrifying. I still was never able to beat Claire's B-side because Mr. X just scared the hell out of me. Part of the reason why I have yet to play the Resident Evil 2 remake is because I hold the original in such high regard, and also because I know the changes they made have Mr. X chasing you a lot more, and I just don't know if I'm ready to deal with it. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm pretty close to starting it. So yeah, number 8, Resident Evil 2. Now, number 7 is a game I got pretty quickly after Resident Evil 2, another PlayStation game, and it just felt like, wow, I love Die Hard, I love Under Siege, I love Sudden Death, I love all these action movies at the time they were current, And I'd love to have a video game that felt like that, where I was one guy going against the world, having crazy enemies, taking them out one by one, rescuing the girl, having the cool tech side guy, and lo and behold, Metal Gear Solid on the PS1 was all of that and more. So this is my first foray into the Metal Gear series. My older brother had played the original Metal Gear. He even bought it and returned it, said he didn't like it. I never played any of the other ones. I picked this one up not knowing what I was going to get into. I'm not even sure why I picked it up. It was intriguing. Once again, I had a PlayStation. Well, let's get some other stuff, because, you know, why just have Resident Evil 1 and 2? Because that's all I had, and then this was my next game. Maybe Final Fantasy 7 after that. But yeah, Metal Gear Solid. You know, Hideo Kojima goes everywhere in his stories, and it was a little bit more in the background in this game. Like, there was a lore and a mythos from the other two games that you could kind of pick up on that made it interesting, figuring out who Gray Fox was, what's Fox, what's all this stuff, Foxcom. But some of the other stuff I didn't even pick up on, like Fox Die and the clones and Big Boss and blah, blah, blah. I just saw really cool characters. You have Vulcan Raven, Psycho Mantis, Sniper Wolf, Decoy Octopus. You had, of course, Liquid Snake. Just, they were such iconic characters. And Mantis, or Praying Mantis, whatever the hell his name is, was so cool. The fact that he would read your memory card, and just the boss fight itself, having to unplug and plug in the controllers, needing to find out one of the codes you need is on the back of the game case, so some nice little screwing over of someone else who doesn't have the game or got downloaded it illegally. And it felt like you were in an action movie. It really established the villains. I remember when you fought Vulcan Raven in the tank, and then he comes back later, it was a nice setup. Everyone, and I remember getting through it and being like, where the hell was Decoy Octopus? Because they all have their own little bios. And then going back and finding out, oh my god, that other guy was Decoy Octopus. What the hell? This game is amazing. I went through and I beat it once with saving Otacon, beat it once with saving Meryl. I probably beat the game 4 or 5 times. I was so invested in this game. The Metal Gear fight at the end, the whole big robots, I never was that big a fan of. And the series, unfortunately, took a nosedive with 2. I'm one of those guys who couldn't stand Raiden. 3 was great, but 3 was also a prequel and starring Big Boss. 4 was kind of, oh my god, this is Hideo Kojima just getting way too high on himself. And I haven't played 5. So yeah, that's where I am on Metal Gear. And such a great game. That is my number 7. So my number 6. My number 6 is a PC game, and it's specifically one that takes place in one point in time, and that would be classic WoW, and to some extent Burning Crusade. But really, World of Warcraft, I've been playing off and on for 15 years now. I was heavily invested from 2005 to 2008, took a break, played it again in 2012 for a few months, took a break, played it again for 2016 for a couple months, took a break, and now I'm back playing Classic, and I am the rogue class leader. I have full BIS before AQ40. I'm definitely getting a little burned out right now. The same thing happened before BWL came out, but it's just, I mean, I've logged in over 300 days in this game. It's insane the amount of time I've put into it. Playing Hunter, Rogue, Shaman, Paladin, and just so much fun. It's really not necessarily the game itself, it's the people you meet, like good friends you meet, and the stories you have. Like, I have so many stories, even from this Classic Edition. They're just amazing. I mean, part of the reason why I'm probably really good at typing is because I would type a lot in the voice chat. Part of the reason why I know internet slang or gamer slang is from the voice chat. Just such a wealth of fun, time killing, especially in a time like this. And wow, I had to put it up here. You knew it was coming. And that is my number 6. So my number 5 is actually the WoW Killer. Not really, but kind of. During that break in 2005 to 2008, I played no other games. I only played WoW. It was the heaviest I was ever invested in it. There was one game that came out that got me out of it for a few months. And when I did quit, I went back and I played it again. That game is Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. The GameCube one. Still my favorite Fire Emblem. I hate to say it, in recent years, Fire Emblem was my favorite Nintendo series. It's kind of come back down to earth. The last one, Three Houses, was really fun, but too much additional stuff that wasn't what I like from Fire Emblem. I like the battles, chapters, going from battle to battle, forming my team, recruiting people on the battlefield, having a team that I grow and expand upon, not one where it's like, oh, I need to recruit this guy in this house, and oh, this is this guy and this guy, and having 4 different playthroughs and all this other BS and freaking Persona world building, monastery, having your kids grow up, molding, like, it's too much. If you enjoy it, great. I like Path of Radiance. It's a nice sweet spot. I played some of the earlier games, mainly just Fire Emblems 1 and 3, and you know, I gotta say I prefer this one more. It still gives you the stuff where you can see on the battlefield, you can anticipate coming, you can anticipate what people are going to attack you with. You don't have to do the calculations on paper. But another nice thing this game did is it allowed you to upgrade units outside of battle with extra experience. Because if you play it for the first time, most people know in a Fire Emblem game, you get a character to start the game that's basically a tank. So it's an upgrade. So the way it happens is you have one class and then you get an upgraded class. Well, you start most games with one person who's an upgraded class, but you don't know that is an upgraded class, and they're just insanely powerful and they become an XP sponge. And that's why the later games now have the ability to do outside of battles, or kind of like the way Tactics Ogre allows you to train and get experience, because you could get yourself into scenarios where you're completely screwed. And I kind of did that my first time playing it with Titania by just having her kill everything, and then none of your troops get leveled up, because eventually at a certain point that troop can't level up enough because they lost the other 20 levels before the upgrade to be that good in endgame. So that's where you get into trouble. But anyways, we're getting in the weeds here. Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, number 5, phenomenal game. Brought my love of tactics games back, which you'll see pretty much the rest of this list. But not yet. Number 4, Genesis game, best game on the Genesis, fight me bro, and that is the funktastic ToeJam and Earl, the original. Can't stand the second one. I haven't played the third one. The fourth one I enjoyed, but I was a little disappointed, even though it is pretty much a very faithful remake and reimagining of the first one. But this is something about the first one. I love the graphical style, the sounds are great, the present opening is, oh my god, just the unpredictable but predictable nature of the game, because you could play it on a random mode, so it's like you knew how it was going to be, but every level was different, every run was different, and just some of the greatest memories. I've talked about it before, was playing that game on the big screen TV when my parents had their date night, me and my older brother, getting all the way through the game, getting all the way to level 24 and beating it, and just phenomenal. I've beaten this game with my wife, I've beaten it with my little brother, with my older brother. It's such a fun thing to play with another person. It's a phenomenal co-op experience. One of the best co-op experiences you can find before, like, 1990 and older. Yeah, you didn't have that many, especially with the whole being able to move the split screen, which they still haven't done anything like this in other games, where it comes to one screen, then you move and it does a split screen. So ToeJam and Earl, my number 4. Number 3. Now we're getting to the big boys. Number 3 was a game, came out of left field. I almost missed it. If it not for a random director who asked me, are you going to check out that game? Like, nah, it looks like a stupid first-person shooter. Oh, it's not. And oh boy, it's not. And that is Xcom, Enemy Unknown. Gotta go with the first one over the sequel, just because the sequel was more of the same. I'd love to play the originals, but the first one, I mean, the one on the 2011, 2012, whatever it was, so good. Such a great game. Tactical strategy, the ability for stuff to go wrong, having to recover from it, and the stories. Once again, the stories in the game. I mean, I haven't told this one yet, but this was in the early 2010s, and what happens is you'll get assigned random characters, and then you look at them like, oh, that's who. So we had one guy pop up. It was a strong, powerful black guy, had a little bit of gray in his hair, and I was playing with my older brother, and he's like, hey, it's Barack Obama. And so I'm like, okay, so we named it Obama. And so he became the leader of our team for a good portion of the game, and was our best character, was rocking, like, yeah, Obama's kicking ass. Until we got to the alien assault mission. And in that mission, depending on how you went through the game and how far you progressed, the enemies are different. And we got ourselves screwed because we got attacked with almost 10 chrysalids. Chrysalids are the little spider things that only melee can move super far, and when they hit you and kill you, you come back as a zombie. And what happened was we ran up against the wall. We were losing the mission every single time, having to save Xcom. And finally, what we did, the one time where we won, we had like Teletafuga, a bunch of that guy we named after Homicide Hunters. There was a character in that, like one of the guy's last names. And we had Obama up there, who was our shotgun guy, and he was just blasted fools. He probably took out 5 of them. It was like, oh my god, we're gonna make it, we're gonna make it. And then at the last second, he gets killed by the crystalline, and we had just 2 people left. We had like Benoit and I can't remember, like Philip Rivers or some stupid stuff. And so they were both snipers though, so we're like, oh my god, we gotta retreat, because I think we had killed the last chrysalid, or we had 1 left, but you know, we knew zombies were gonna come up, so we retreated. The fog of war came over, and then slowly but surely we see zombie Obama coming at us, and it's like, no, he just saved the day, but he was the last troop left. I'm like, all right, you gotta take him out, man. So we took him out. Ended up getting the snipers to the end, beat the mission, managed to get through the game, because that was a major bottleneck, because after that we invested in the plasma tech, and I didn't know what the hell we were doing. It was the first playthrough. But that right there, one of the great memories of the game. We still talk about it to this day, Obama's last stand. It was so fun, and it was so sad too. He was like, no, he saved the day, now you gotta take him out. But it was just, you couldn't write that stuff. It was fantastic. And that's the type of things that happen when you play XCOM Enemy Unknown. So what could be better than that? Well, my number 2, I'm just going to say, Final Fantasy Tactics. I mean, it's a really close between this one and number 1. Someday, you know, I might even get to this one being number 1 one of these days, but man, when I got Final Fantasy Tactics, it was after I beat Final Fantasy 7, and I hadn't heard of this game. It was another Final Fantasy game. I'm like, well, I enjoyed 7 so much. Let's try this other thing. Upon turning it on, it looked completely different. The battlefield looked completely different. I mean, I almost turned it off right then and there, but something kept me going. You know, they talked about the Zodiac Braves. I've always been kind of interested in Zodiac Stones just because it's a fascinating subject. And the story just kept going. It kept getting deeper. It was violent. It was real. You could have all these different types of jobs for your characters. The Zodiac Stones, it would turn people into monsters, collecting all the stones, the secrets, fighting Weirgraph. It was mind-blowing how good this game was. The betrayal, the backstabbing, Delita being your best friend, then becoming your main enemy, having your brothers, you know, betray you and then stand up for you, getting to the deepest dungeon, finding all this craziness, killing the 13th Zodiac sign that didn't exist. So much content here. I've put hundreds of hours into this game. I've had 2 complete playthroughs that I know of. I've started other playthroughs that I've made it most of the way there. Such a great game. I don't understand most of the stuff as far as the behind the scenes with the biorhythms and what day you're born and how to... And like, that's the thing with me in all these games. I don't try and optimize stuff. I mean, the game that I've really been optimizing a lot is Classic WoW, which is killing me now. Because now, I have my raid tomorrow, and I haven't got my world buffs. I need to go and get my salt score pick and do all this other crap, but I'm like, I just don't have the energy. But yeah, Final Fantasy Tactics, phenomenal game. Number 2, when the hell are we ever going to get a true sequel? I mean, I've never played the GBA ones, but come on, we need a new Tactics game. A new Final Fantasy Tactics. And number 1, surprise, surprise, you all called it, Link to the Past. I mean, I almost feel like I need to change it now because it wasn't... It's kind of like, of course it's number 1, but man, it's not calling me as much. But hey, when I think about it, when I think about the fun I've had, the amount of times I've played it, having Jen play it, it really, there is not a better game. My favorite Zelda game. I think I gotta admit and say that Zelda is my favorite series, seeing as how I had 4 games, I think, from the series on this list, as opposed to 1 Fire Emblem. But hey, it had its moment. But yeah, it's such a wonderful story, such a wonderful game, complete, and just from beginning to end, the end credits going through and showing you all the different people, the amount of dungeons. Still never been a Zelda game with more dungeons, which is my favorite part of the game. So yeah, Link to the Past, number 1. That's my top 10. That is my top 50. Let me know what you think. You know, it's kind of cool looking at my list. I got games from the 80s, games from the 90s, games from the 2000s, and games from the 2010s. Even in my top 10, I got all of them represented. So suck it. I am an eclectic gamer. So yeah, let me know what your guys' favorite games are. Let me know if you enjoyed this list. I might be taking a little bit of a hiatus here in May. We'll see. You know, things are crazy right now. Got no money coming in, and all my family's here, so it's a little harder to get motivated when I can actually spend time with my wife. Because usually I work on this stuff when she's at work, because I have weekdays off instead of weekends. But we'll see about that. I've been beating a lot of games. I've beaten Final Fantasy VII Remake. I got a couple of Game Boy games that I can do reviews on, and I'm currently playing Desert Bus Stranding, which I gotta say, you know, for a Hideo Kojima game, he strangely makes sense in a world that's not supposed to be based in reality like Metal Gear. But anyways, it's been so nice getting a hold of you guys. Take care.